Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Teacher Development Webinars. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. My name is Amanullah Sand. I facilitate virtual programs at Teacher Development Webinars. Teacher Development Webinars is a social action project to support teachers and educators around the world with professional development opportunities. It is an initiative using the rise in online professional development to connect people from around the world with opportunities which they may not have had due to the old normal of face-to-face conferences. We are celebrating International Mother Language Day webinar series that attempts to celebrate linguistic diversity and multilingualism. Through this, we intend to promote awareness of equity and inclusion in education through discussions about linguistic human rights, importance of mother tongues, language sensitization, and other concerns about language. And now it's my privilege to introduce Professor Ghil'ad Zuckermann for this webinar. Professor Ghil'ad Zuckermann is Chair of Linguistics and Endangered Languages at the University of Ghil'ad, Australia. He is the founder of Revivalistics, a new global transdisciplinary field of inquiry surrounding language reclamation, revitalization, and reinvigoration. He has taught at the University of Cambridge, National University of Singapore, University of Queensland, Shanghai Jiaotong University, Middlebury College, East China Normal University, Hebrew University of Jerusalem, Shanghai International Studies University, Bengalian University of the Negev, University of Miami, and University of Haifa. His MOOC, Massive Open Online Course, Language Revival, Securing the Future of Endangered Languages, has attracted over 20,000 learners from 190 countries. What a pleasure it is to have your teacher development webinars. Professor Ghil'ad, welcome to Teacher Development Webinars.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me well?
Yes, I can hear you.
Excellent. That's wonderful. It's a pleasure to be here and well, from Adelaide to Pakistan. And I'm happy that we commemorate the International Mother Day, especially in Pakistan, given the original date, the reason for this, which had to do with Pakistan and Bangladesh. And I would like to share my screen. Let me know if you can see the entire screen.
Yes.
And I entitled the lecture today, Revivalistics. And as you beautifully presented, Revivalistics is a new transdisciplinary field of inquiry. And what is beautiful about it is that it attracts people from any field, not just from linguistics, but also from law, mental health, anthropology, pedagogy, dance, theater, even architecture. Because we need to ask, should we revive a language in a traditional setting? Should we do it in a colonial building, thus showing that, for example, in Australia, the government acknowledges the importance of the language revival? Should we architecturally do it in a combined environment, so a Western environment with Aboriginal elements, etc.? So we need even architects to help us in revivalistics. So revivalistics is much, much bigger than linguistics, let alone documentary linguistics. And I also call it language reclamation, cross-fertilization, and well-being. I will just explain why. Language reclamation is the most severe case of language revival, in which we revive a language that has no native speakers. This happened, for example, in the case of Hebrew in Israel. This is happening in the case of Bangla, which is an Aboriginal language, not to be confused with Bangla in Bangladesh. Bangala, also with retroflex, Bangala is a language that I am reclaiming together with the Aboriginal people of South Australia, and we had no native speakers, unfortunately. So reclamation is when you have no native speakers. Revitalization and reinvigoration is when you have native speakers. Cross-fertilization is what happens when you reclaim a language, and it is impossible to reclaim a language without interfering or cross-fertilizing with the revivalists' mother tongue. So if you're, say, an Urdu speaker and you reclaim a small language that unfortunately became a sleeping beauty, the result will be a convergence between Urdu and that language that you're trying to revive, and the result will be a revival language. And well-being, because when you reclaim a language, the most important thing you achieve is improved well-being, and we'll discuss it. So that's the title. I'm an endangered languages professor, so endangered that I'm the only such professor in Australia. So the endangered modifies not only the languages, but also, unfortunately, my own professorship. I'm in Adelaide, Australia Australis, which means South Australia in Latin, and Adelaide is Kaurna land. Kaurna is an Aboriginal language, and therefore I need to say Ngadlu tampinti Kaurna miuna yakta matanya wamatandanyaku. We know Kaurna people, landowners of the Adelaide Plains. This is my acknowledgement of the country where I live. I am not among the colonizers because I'm neither Anglo nor Celtic. I'm a migrant to Australia, but still I need to acknowledge that this is a land that was taken by the Anglo-Celtic colonizers. This is Revivalistics, a book that I published recently with Oxford University Press. The book has to do with a lecture today, so I recommend it to anybody. And it's available anywhere, Amazon, whatever. It's a relatively cheap book because it's paperback. For language revival, you need many resources. You can see here how I carry some books that was at Oxford. And it's interesting and ironic because most languages that are being reclaimed are languages that are not traditionally written. So, but we do need the resources today because we use the technological revolution and we use books. For language revival, you need resilience. This is your humble servant with Muhammad Ali in Detroit. I met him in 1993. He tried to make me a Muslim unsuccessfully. But Muhammad Ali, he was there for the long run. He was not a knockouter. He was there with resilience. This is what you need for language revival. As I said earlier, language revival is associated with well-being, with mental health, and we will see it later. This is Klamor Wilhelm Schumann. He was a missionary. He came to Australia, to South Australia, from Osnabrück, from Germany, as a missionary to show the Aboriginal people his light, Jesus Christ. And it is very interesting because he came in 1838. So what is it? It's 180 years ago almost. And in 1844, he wrote down a dictionary of the Bangala language. He also participated in the dictionary of the Kaurna language, which is a language of Adelaide, where I am right now. Paradoxically, that missionary, tried to show the Aboriginal people, just like Harry Dare, or his ancestors more specifically, the light, the Christian light, by destroying Aboriginal spirituality, because missionaries believe that they know better than the heathens, in quotation marks, what is right, the right thing to believe in. We use the very same dictionary 170 years later in order to show the Aboriginal people their own spirituality, which had been lost due to missionary activities and colonization. So there is righting the wrong of the past, which is symmetric. The use of a dictionary written for one purpose, for the opposite purpose. The dictionary, as I said, was written for Christianization. We use it for reconnection with the Aboriginal spirituality. Another beautiful paradox, which is righting the wrong of the past and symmetrically so, is the use of technology in order to reconnect with a language that had been killed by technology. Why am I saying that Bangla was written by technology, was killed by technology? Because the ships that Anglo-Celtic colonizers came on, the weapons that the colonizers used in order to kill Aboriginal people, the black cars that stole Harry Dare, whom you see here in the photo. He's a friend of mine from Port Augusta, Ghil'ad in Bangla. These were all technological devices. Now we use technology. Look at this app. You can download it for free, Bangala app. So Bangala, B-A-R-N. R-N means retroflex, Bang, Gara. So RL means, again, retroflex, Bangala. For a Pakistani Urdu speaker, or for, say, Bangladeshi, or for a Hindi speaker, a Bangla speaker, it's very easy to pronounce Bangala. And this is the paradox. Now, this guy here, Howard Richards, is the one who welcomed me to Ghil'ad. Ghil'ad means Port Lincoln, and we have been reclaiming this beautiful sleeping beauty for many years. You can see how many people participate. So the main question I have today is, why on earth should we invest time and money in reviving dead languages? And I only have 30 minutes to answer this question, because after that I'll answer other questions. And I will very succinctly provide you with weapons that you can use when you defend your own, hopefully, activities of revivalistics, when you talk to governmental officials, when you talk to university leaders, etc., etc. The first thing is, and this is why I do what I do, I dedicate my life to revivalistics, it's ethical. It's the right thing to do. The second reason is aesthetic. It's beautiful. It's the pleasing thing to do. And we are human beings. We love beauty. We like classical music. We like music. We like beauty. And the third thing is utilitarian. And I've mentioned health and well-being. This is the useful thing to do. So I'm going to talk about what is right, what is beautiful, and what is beneficial for society. But of course, there are many other related questions. Should we financially compensate Indigenous people for the loss of their native tongues? Should Indigenous languages be defined as official languages, for example, of Australia? Should we erect multilingual signs, changing the landscape, the linguistic landscape with a G? Does language dictate the way we think? Is it possible at all to reclaim a sleeping, dreaming beauty language? I've already partially answered this question by saying that it is, but of course you should expect cross-fertilization. It will never be the same language that it used to be. This is Galinyala, Port Lincoln. You can see how we are changing the landscape because this is the first sign with the word Galinyala ever. Mangiri in Bangla means healthy. That's the name of this beautiful building. This is another sign that mentions the activities that we conduct. I conduct together with the Bangla people, and that's beautiful. By the way, I've just admitted somebody to the Zoom. I'm going to see these two Bangla women, in fact, in several hours. They're driving from Port Lincoln to Adelaide. It takes 8 hours. And they're coming. So now it's, what's the time now? In Adelaide now it's 8:44 p.m. Of Saturday. On Sunday morning, they're coming here because we're going to have a panel about the Bangla language, reclamation, and mental health. Lavinia on the right, was kidnapped when she was a child, kidnapped by the government, not by criminals. In China, some children are being kidnapped, but she was kidnapped by the government. And Shania is, of course, much later generation, but she talks about what language did to her mental health. This is my friend Robert Wilton and Adnya Matnaman. I'm showing you some photos from my own life. As you can see, language reclamation or revitalization or reinvigoration is not just in Australia. In this case, it's in South Africa. This one is in Namibia with the Jungwasi tribe. That's their height. I'm tall, but they're short. And this is in Thailand, in Krabi, etc., etc. So there are many activities, including in Pakistan, of course. I must study politics and war that my sons may have liberty to study mathematics and philosophy. My sons ought to study mathematics, philosophy, geography, natural history, naval architecture, navigation, commerce, and agriculture in order to give their children a right to study painting, poetry, music, architecture again, statuary, tapestry, and porcelain. I would add to John Adams' beautiful, perspicacious statement, revivalistics, heritage languages, heritage dance, traditional music, etc. We are humans. We are not animals. This is the basic humans' needs pyramid. Of course, I added battery and Wi-Fi. But if I ask you, where are most people today? Well, of course, there are many people who do not even have safety and physiological food, water, shelter. It's just enough to look at all the wars, the earthquakes, and the disasters, the stupidities of humanity. But let's take a big country like China. I would say that most Chinese are somewhere in belonging, love, friends, family, spouse, lover. How many Chinese are in self-esteem or have reached self-actualization? Very, very few. Hoi polloi, the normies, the masses, they hardly get to the top two levels of this beautiful basic human needs hierarchy. How many people you know who have found their ikigai, their ikigai, which means the interface between what you love, what you're good at, what you're paid for, and what the world needs? I have found my ikigai, that's revivalistics, except that, of course, some institutions are trying to destroy this ikigai, this raison d'etre. But how many people do you know, and I'm not talking about professors or the elite, I'm talking about hoi polloi, the masses, who have reached their real ikigai. Even my guitarist friend has never reached his ikigai because he loves it, he's good at it, the world needs it, but unfortunately he's not paid for it. My accountant friend, the world needs it, well, he's good at it, he's paid for it, but unfortunately for him, he doesn't love it. No ikigai. I would like to argue that just as the Industrial Revolution of 1760, 1840 turned people from seeking food to seeking things, the technological revolution that we are currently experiencing, allowing me to talk to you from Australia, Australis to Pakistan, or allowing my students to cheat using BARD or Chat GPT, artificial intelligence programs, etc. Eventually, this revolution will turn people from seeking things to seeking ideas. The normies today, or the hoi polloi, most they seek things, but they will seek ideas, which will mean that people will go up and up the hierarchy of Abraham Maslow. So you might say wishful thinking. I really believe so, and this is when language reclamation will become much more common compared with what it is today. Revivalistics today, this book, is a niche. It's a small niche. I believe that it will become much less niche, much more mainstream. Not yet. It will take some time. Now, I mentioned the technological revolution. I should probably say, because I'm talking to people interested in language, that there were 4 linguistic revolutions so far. Speaking more than 70,000 years ago, allowing Homo sapiens sapiens to lie about the past and the future, something that animals cannot do, as well as to offend without any physical violence, something that animals cannot do. Writing approximately 5,200 years ago allowed Homo sapiens sapiens to protect himself from thieves. I can elaborate on it if you're interested, if we have time later. Type printing, 1450, Johannes Gutenberg develops the first European movable type printing, enabling mass production of books. And it allows Homo sapiens sapiens, the animal that knows she knows, to conduct mass religious brainwashing. And technology, which is the revolution that I've just talked about, is the big data revolution that allows us to do what we are doing right now via the zombie existence. So, why should we revive languages? As Nelson Mandela approximately said, if you talk to a man in a language he understands, that goes to his head. If you talk to him in his language, that goes to his heart. What is more important than the heart? I believe that the loss of language is more severe than the loss of land. This is very important, especially that we have so many wars these days that are based on land, you know, like Russia and the Ukraine, they want the same land, etc., etc. What a waste of resources. Languages are overlooked because they're intangible. You cannot touch them. You can touch the land. However, who said that the intangible is less important than the tangible just because you cannot touch it? Well, do you remember what I said about the technological revolution taking up Abraham Maslow's hierarchy? This is when the intangible will become much more important than it is today. Language death means loss of cultural autonomy. It means loss of intellectual sovereignty. It means loss of spirituality. Language death means loss of well-being, mental health. It means loss of the soul, so to speak. Language is a repository of ideas, values, and experience. This is Anthony Forster, a colonist in South Australia, where I am right now. And he said in 1843, the natives would be sooner civilized if their language was extinct. This is an ideology of linguicide. Linguicide, side with a C, like suicide, like genocide, like insecticide, so like cockroach killing, etc. Insecticide. This is linguicide. Another person, South Australian Governor George Grey, and I'm reading from the bottom here, the ruder languages disappear successively and the tongue of England alone is heard around. Why does he regard the Aboriginal languages, there were 400 of them, as the ruder languages? Why are they rude? Australia ought to learn from New Zealand. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander vernaculars should be defined as official languages of their state territory. Signs should be both in English and in the local Indigenous language. Currently, there are no official languages in Australia. There are 2 official languages in New Zealand. One of them is Te Reo Maori, which is the Maori language, Maori, and the other one, surprise, not English, but rather sign language, So, sign language is the second official language of Aotearoa, New Zealand, the land of the long white cloud, also known by some Maori as the land of the wrong white crowd. Long white cloud becomes wrong white crowd. That's how they call it in New Zealand. That's the Aboriginal flag. which was designed by Harold Thomas and was flown in 1971 when I was born in Victoria Square, which is just near me. And I'm going to have the panel with Shania and with Lavinia Richards, whom I showed you earlier, there in Victoria Square. So it's kind of exactly 51, almost, yeah, a little bit more than 51 years later. Now, if I ask you what is the black is the people. What's the red? The red is the land. In Australia, the soil can be red, not brown, as in Pakistan. And then the yellow stands for the sun or for life. That's the Aboriginal flag. This is my own Aboriginal flag. My own design. The black for the people, the red for the land, and the pink for the lang. Why? Why language? Because the tongue is the mouth of both the land and the people. According to Aboriginal spirituality, which is a trinity, not il Padre, il Figlio e lo Spirito Santo, as the Italian Catholic people do, not that trinity. The trinity of people, land, and tongue, resulting in Aboriginal people believing that when you speak to a koala in near my house here, you need to speak in Ghana, because the koala belongs to the Ghana land. If you speak to a kangaroo or to an emu in Goodnada, Port Lincoln, in Eyre Peninsula, which is 8 hours from here, you need to speak in Bangala, because Bangala is the language of that specific land. That's a trinity. By the way, the language does not belong to the people, the land does not belong to the people belong to the land, the people belong to the language. This is a totally different thing, ideology or Weltanschauung, worldview, compared with the Western idea that, you need to get compensated for the loss of land because the land belongs to you. In Aboriginal spirituality, you belong to the land. I love it. And language, in my view, as I said earlier, is more important than the specific land you are born into. I do not live where I was born. I'm a migrant. And, it's not a big deal. But if you do not allow me to speak my mother tongue, I'll be very, very upset. So the language is more important than the land. If you want to watch, we don't have time today, but if you want to watch, then this one is a very good film to watch. It's Andy Park interviews the Bangala community of Port Augusta. Okay, aesthetic reasons, I'll be quick. I know there are many questions. When you lose a language, you lose a culture, intellectual wealth, a work of art. It's like dropping a bomb in a museum, the Louvre. I love cheeses. I believe in cheeses. If I go to the Adelaide Central Market and I'm told no more cheeses, I'll be extremely upset because it's my taste. You might be lactose malabsorbent, lactose intolerant. It's a matter of taste. Look how beautiful Australia, 400 different languages. Look how beautiful. Look how ugly. Most Australians are monolingual. That's a monolingual mindset. Out of 400 Aboriginal languages, only 12 are alive and kicking, which means spoken by 100% of kids. It's 3%. What happened to the 97%? They were killed. As I said, that's horrible. We don't want Homo sapiens sapiens to become a barcode. We need something like that. We need something like that. Look how beautiful. Animals. The survival of the Tasmanian devil is important. What about the survival of the Palawa languages of Tasmania? Why is it that nobody gives money to languages, but people give money to animals? I'm not against animals. On the contrary, I pay my dues to to support animals. My friend has joeys like that at home. Look how beautiful this word, Mam Klapinatapai. It means to look one at the other, hoping that the other side would initiate something that both of us really wants to do, but so far nobody has had the guts to initiate. How beautiful. I know this concept, but I didn't have a word for it until I studied Yagan in Tierra del Fuego, in Chile, Argentina. And as a linguist, I can analyze how they can reach such a beautiful word. Nahur in ancient Persian, a camel that will not give milk until her nostrils have been tickled. Beautiful. I would have never thought about it. Our imagination is very limited. We need to keep these languages because they allow us to imagine things that we would have otherwise never imagined. Look at how aliens look at Hollywood films. They all look like ugly human beings, or most of them look like ugly human beings. Ridiculous. What are the chances? But it just shows you our limited imagination. But finally, I would like to touch upon the utilitarian benefits of language revival. I've told you why it is the right thing to do. I've told you why it is the beautiful thing to do. But now I would like to tell you why it is the beneficial thing to do for our society. Language revival results in personal, mental, spiritual, and physical well-being, sense of pride and self-esteem. It's an antidote for self-loathing. This is an email from Jenna. Personally, I found the experience of learning a language liberating and went home feeling very overwhelmed because we were finally going to learn our own language. It gave me a sense of identity. And I think if the whole family, that's a Bangla family of Port Lincoln, learned a language then, we would all feel totally different about ourselves and each other because it's almost like it gives you a purpose in life. Colonized people, as a generalization, hate two types of people. They hate the colonizers. This is understandable, but much more tragically, and of course I'm generalizing, I'm a linguist must generalize because a language ipso facto is generalization. A language is an abstract ensemble of idiolects, sociolects, and other lects, dialects. I'm generalizing. But as a generalization, colonized people hate two types of people. They hate the colonizers and they hate themselves because the colonizers treated them like fauna, like animals, and it kind of trickled down. It's a little bit like the Pygmalion effect in pedagogy. If you're a teacher in Pakistan and you tell your student, you are stupid, you're an idiot, nothing will come out of it. It has the potential, the specter of causing this person to actually not be as successful. Whereas if you say to somebody, you're a genius, you're brilliant, you're a miracle, you're a wonder, this person will have more chances to excel in his or in her life. So similarly, I'm not into psychology now. Language is power. Let us have ours, says Aidan Ridgway, the Aboriginal politician. And then Evelyn says very cleverly, a big thank you on behalf here of our family here in Port Lincoln. Our ancestors are happy. I don't know whether in Pakistan this sentence is something uttered. I would never say our ancestors are happy. But when an Aboriginal person says that, you know that he or she is happy. As these Bangla people. Darcy Hallett, Michael Chandler, and Christopher Lalonde in 2007 found out that in British Columbia, Canada, there is a clear correlation between youth suicide and lack of conversational knowledge in the native language. Linguicide results in suicide. I would like to propose to you today that language revival results in improved well-being. Just as language loss increases suicidal ideation and depression, language gain reduces ill mental health and empowers the well-being of the people involved in the revival, as well as their associates, their circles, the outer circles, not only the ones who attend my workshops, but also their families and their friends, etc., etc. That's a game changer. Because whoever tells you that if the world speaks one language, all our problems would disappear, there'll be no wars, just tell them to Google 3 things. Rwanda 1994, Syria 2019, and even Russia, Ukraine 2023. All these people understand each other linguistically. In the case of Rwanda and Syria, they speak the very same dialect. In the case of Ukraine and Russia, I mean, there is mutual intelligibility, etc. So it is a myth that if we kill all languages and we all speak only one language, then we will have no wars. It's palpable poppycock. On the contrary, I would argue that our society would be, so even our nation, I mean, a nation, your nation, my nation, I'm not nationalist, and I'm globalist, but what I'm saying is a country would be more cohesive socially if the little languages are supported and embraced and championed, rather than chastised and criticized or rebuked. So it's the opposite of this idea that we need to all speak the same language, or all the country people have to speak the same language. On the contrary. Concluding remarks. You need 4 components: language owners, public sphere, linguistics, and education. It's not only linguists. You must have the language owners. They must be at the wheel. Lavinia and Shania are 2 women who are at the wheel of the language revival. I'm the facilitator. I'm the co-parent, or if you want, the stepfather. They're the mother. They're the ones who decide what to do with a child. Immersion would help. These are some photos of immersion for you. That's 2. If you're interested in what I said today, I recommend the MOOC that Professor Sand mentioned earlier. This is a friend of mine, this is a student of mine who became a friend of mine because he recognized me in Myanmar. He said, "You're my MOOC professor." I was shocked. And I would just like to end up with Australian signs. This is an Australian sign, so it's in Sydney. You need to tell me whether the ticket I received on the left was justified. You need a paradox. You need 2 doctorates to answer that, in mathematics, in logic, in linguistics, and in semiotics. A paradox. This is another Australian sign. Don't drive like a, don't know how many of you know what it is. Knob. Don't drive like a knob. My Chinese student asked me whether that meant don't drive like a chicken, because chickens go from one lane to another. No, it means don't drive like a cock, like an idiot. And this is another sign, don't drive like a. Now, when I saw this sign, it's a real sign, in South Australia. There is no Photoshop here. When I saw this sign, I obviously made a very dangerous U-turn to take a photo, and I didn't know what the sign meant, but somebody shouted to me, "Don't drive like a wanker." So I understood what it means. So it's W and anchor. But this is the best sign. And this is why I decided to end up my presentation to you today, exactly the 40 minutes that I was given. If your language is endangered, do not allow it to fall asleep. If your language falls asleep, stop, revive, survive. That's a sign in Victoria, Australia, where you need to stop the car to eat something, not alcohol, to drink something, and then you will survive. You will not have an accident. If you revive a language, embrace the hybridity of the children's emerging tongue, because it will be cross-fertilized. If your language is healthy, say you speak American, say you speak Urdu, say you speak Spanish, say you speak Mandarin, not Cantonese, consider helping others in linguistic need. Thank you so much. And now I'm opening my floor for questions.
What a powerful talk, Professor Ghil'ad Zuckermann. I was all ears and it was fantastic. I really appreciate your time and expertise for this wonderful event and for this, insightful, emotional, sensitive, and true to its every word. And, while we were speaking, we can, feel your spirit and your dedication to this cause. So kudos to you and hats off, really. So moving towards questions, I see this question: how can you revive an oral language like Haitian Creole, which is no written reference?
So how can you revive Haitian Creole, is it?
Yeah, so it was an example, but language without any script.
Without a script. Oh, I
Yeah.
see. Okay. Look, as it happens, most of the world's, by the way, I'll stop sharing, yeah, so you can see me better. Most of the world's languages, so we have 7,000 languages, most of them do not have a script traditionally. None of the Aboriginal languages in Australia has had a script. None. So what we do, we first make a script. And of course, the script should be the most user-friendly one, not the politically approved one. It's ridiculous that in some countries, the script is based on the national language, which might be totally not user-friendly. So for example, if you have, say, a language with characters, and then you have a language which is not, I mean, then of course you're not going to force the characters. It's ridiculous. It's ludicrous. In the case of Bangla, we use the Roman alphabet or the English script because this is what Bangla people know to read. I also I'm reviving the Bayungu language of Western Australia. And also this is what they read. They read English. They don't read any other script. So why should we use Arabic, for example, for Bayungu? So in the case of Haitian Creole, the same thing. You can just write it using Roman script. And then the script is a tool. And why is it an important tool? Because we have reached the technological revolution. It's true that these cultures did not have the 5,200 years ago second revolution, which is the writing, because writing is something that exists when you have agriculture. It doesn't exist when you're a hunter-gatherer. Think about it. Why did writing come about? Actually in Iraq, so not far from your part of the world, they started producing wheat, and say they sent wheat to the Middle East, and they wanted to get salt instead, and then they got salt which was not the right quantity, and they asked what happened, and it turned out that there were some thieves on the way that stole half of the wheat. So next time, 5,200 years ago, they wrote down 4 units of wheat. This is the beginning of writing for economic reasons. And of course, when you're a hunter-gatherer, you kill one kangaroo, you eat it. For 2 weeks, you don't do anything. You kill another kangaroo, you eat it. You don't need to count. When you have an abattoir, you need to count how many tails of kangaroos I've had. I have been to an abattoir and seen 1,000 tails of kangaroos. So you need to count. So writing is a tool, and we can use it for Haitian Creole as well as for any other language. Any more questions? Any more questions? You want me to read the chat, or you want to answer the chat? Okay. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Yes. Oh, you can hear me, but I can see that our host cannot hear me. Okay. So what I'll do, I'll just read the questions on my own. Oh, we have Salvador, Brazil. Wow, Brazil. Hello, sir. Feeling enthusiastic. Okay. I would like to read my book, your book. Okay, this is the book. You can get it with, let me give you my discount. This is for somebody who asked for the book. I can give you a discount. If you buy it through OUP, let me just give you the discount here in the WeChat. Here, I'll give you. That's a promo code, so you get 30% off. Now, what else? We had more questions here. So I'm looking through the chat, and I can see, oh, there are many things. Technology is being used now to preserve and revive languages. Exactly. Disappearing voices, NGL, technological kits, recorders, computers. Exactly. The race to save world's disappearing languages. National Geographic. Yes, exactly. Wikitanks. I am a member. I'm kind of a senior board member of Wikitanks. Can't agree more. I believe that when we lose a language, we lose an important culture and human reference. A language is a living entity. And when we kill a language, we're killing an entity of our planet. We lose part of our planet's soul. Exactly. Very, very well said, Fernando. I believe that language is an important factor to include your roots. If language becomes extinct, it is the extinction of community and address in cosmos. The regenerations will be haphazard. Land is a natural thing, but language can give recognition to it. Thank you. That's Rizvi. Abdelaziz, my first language is me. Very good. Fernando, the language of other biological entities also vary from region to region. Dolphin from the Atlantic speak a different dolphin language. Absolutely, but dolphins cannot tell you a linguistic joke. I would be happy to stand corrected. I have never heard of two dolphins, or what do dolphins do? I've never heard of two dolphins talking to each other, and then these are female dolphins. And then they see a handsome male dolphin coming, and one says, and the other one says, that's exactly what I wanted to say. If there is this kind of joke, then it means that they do have a language. But I don't think they have a language. They cannot lie about 10 years ago. They cannot lie about 10 years from now. They cannot say 10 years ago, I had like 10 girlfriend dolphins, and in 10 years, I will kill 10 sharks. We can do it. They cannot offend without, violence. I mean, they can frighten, but there is a difference between frighten, like, and offend. If you see the World Cup, there was one guy, Materazzo, who said something to Zinedine Zidane or something, and he said like probably something about his sister, and he got very, very, he didn't touch him, he just said something. Don't think dolphins can do that. What are some things we do to protect our native language and endangered languages from more dominant language? Well, what can you do? Okay. Firstly, be self-confident. Don't allow arrogant people above you to tell you that you're not as good as their language, or your language is not as advanced, or your language cannot do this, or it's rubbish. Of course, I'm not against multilingualism. I speak 13 languages, and I believe that every person should have four languages as his or her mother tongues. First is the international language, currently American, but it can change, of course. Secondly, the national language, so say in Pakistan, it'll be Urdu. Thirdly, your heritage language, which can be many languages in Pakistan. And fourthly, it should be the language of your ikigai. So if you are, say, an opera singer who is Albanian, who lives in Italy, you should be a native speaker of 4 languages: American, Italian, Albanian, and, well, maybe German for die Zauberflöte in opera. But of course, the most important opera language for bel canto is Italian, so it's already within your national language. If you're a chef, then maybe a French cuisine chef, then maybe.
Sorry, Professor Zuckermann, I lost you for a bit due to my connection. So I'm also, monitoring the chat on the YouTube and has a question from Khadija, and she says, how can you pure your language from mixing other languages in US? Like in Urdu, we use, a lot of English words. You are on mute, Professor. You are on mute. Hello.
Let's see, real tech. Oh yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes. Yes, now we can hear you.
I cannot hear you though. Let me just check.
Yes. So can you hear me?
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yes. Good to go. Yes, I can hear you.
Can you hear me now? I cannot hear you.
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you.
The question and then I'll answer if you can hear me. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so you can hear me, but I cannot hear you. So it's kind of the opposite. So how about you write the question and then I'll answer the question. I heard that there was a question from YouTube, and I would be very happy to answer.
So can you hear me now? How about that? Can you hear me now?
Let's see. Can you write the question, Professor Sand?
Yes. So
1, 2, 3. Audio settings. 1, 2, 3. Oh, great. Now I can hear you. Can you speak now?
yes. So can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. Thank you.
Yes. So this was a question from Khadija, and she asked that, how can we pure the language? Like, in Urdu, we use a lot of English words. So pure from mixing other, languages.
Sorry, can you ask the question again? Yeah, can you ask the question again? I can hear you now.
Yeah. So can you hear me now?
Much better.
Okay, that's excellent. So, Khadija asked that how can you pure your language from mixing other words, other languages words, like in Urdu, we do ask other language words.
So did you say how can we purify the language?
Yeah, from mixing other languages. Okay.
I am against purification. I support mixing, and I love it when people in Urdu include words from English. When you go to Japan, almost every sentence you hear has an Americanism within it, which resulted in me listening to Koizumi Junichiro, who was the prime minister of Japan, and he spoke in Japanese, and he used within Japanese, he said something: we should not allow Americanisms to infiltrate our masukomi, and he used the word masukomi, M-A-S-U-K-O-M-I, which of course, needless to say,
is the Japanization or Japanification of mass communication. So I loved it because for me, it shows you that even he, when he criticizes of the Americanization of Japanese, uses an American component. I do not think you need to worry about it. As long as you speak your language, of course, with the pronunciation of your language, with the phonology, with the other languages are not going to destroy it. I mean, Japanese is Japanese. In fact, despite the fact that there's so many Americanisms in Japanese, when a Japanese person speaks American or English, I don't think there is anybody in the world who does not know that they're Japanese. So what I'm saying is that purification is a waste of time. I don't believe in the imprisoning purism prism. Imprisoning purism prism. I think that our prism should be much more embracing as long as we have that language. And of course, when you revive a dead language or a sleeping beauty or a dreaming beauty, you will never be pure, because don't forget that even if your own Ursprache, your own kind of old language, proto language, is not pure. It was a hybrid. So I don't care about purism.
That's fine. That's yes, makes a lot of sense. And moving to other questions, and as one, apart from social, economic, and political factors, what are the linguistic factors that you see, motivating, loss of language? Why do people, lose their languages or move to others languages from their mother language?
Firstly, I will start with revival. One of the things that I've discovered is that when you have a nationhood ambition, you want to have your own political sovereignty, it helps revival. So ideology can help revival. When it comes to what causes loss, sometimes it's violent. This is linguicide. So, for example, when you kidnap Lavinia Richards or Harry Richards or Howard Richards, Harry Dare from their mother, this is a violent linguicide. When you say the natives would be sooner civilized if the language was extinct, this is linguicide. You kill the language. When you tell people at school, if I hear you talking this dialect, I'm going to punish you, this is linguicide, this is language killing. Such a person should be jailed, in my view. So it is like genocide. I don't know if you're aware of it, but according to the United Nations, linguicide is one of the 10 forms of genocide. So in order to be accused of genocide, you don't need to kill anybody. It's enough just to kill the language of a people. That's genocide. So genocide is not only killing with weapons, but also killing a language. So as I said, this is linguicide, but sometimes the reason is more kind of soft. So I call it glottophagy. Glottophagy is language eating. For example, you believe that your children will be more successful if they speak the important acrolect. There will be lawyers or be doctors, and you believe wrongly that if you talk to them in the dialect or in another language which is not the acrolect, the prestigious language, it would interfere with the acrolect, which is wrong. Linguistically, we know that multilingual people, native multilinguals, are more clever than themselves as monolinguals. So I could give you many examples for that, how people who speak two languages natively are more, their IQ is higher. So in other words, sometimes it's parents making the wrong choice. They say, well, let's forget. Sometimes it's a matter of, psychology. Let's say the child does not want to be different from the other children at school. And then the parents just feel, oh, maybe we should just kind of mix. And therefore, there is the third generation phenomenon. After the second generation kind of killed the language or didn't care about the killing, then the third generation goes to university and says, wait a second, what am I? Who am I? what was my great-grandfather? And then they go and they ask, how can we learn that heritage language? So sometimes it takes a generation or even 2 or 3 to realize the importance of that language. So look, I'm not accusing parents. I think that our world has many difficulties anyway in raising kids, etc. But what I'm saying is that if you see somebody not allowing another person to speak in his or her language, that's a very, very, very red light for me.
Yeah, that's a great answer. So yeah, so if you are into reviving languages or revivalistics, as you said, what is the first thing to start with, starting point, in your opinion?
First thing is to get the community on board. So we don't believe in laboratorial revival. Second thing is to find the resources. If you don't have resources, you cannot revive a language. If it's dead, it's dead. You must have resources. Third thing is to interpret the resources and to make them user-friendly for the language owners. Fourth thing is to go there and to teach the people their own language, which had been lost. Fifth thing is to train their people to become teachers, to have internal workshops. Then you need to change the landscape, the linguistic landscape, to add as much as possible in the environment, to have competitions, who is the best speaker, the best poet, the best writer, the best welcome to country person, the best ceremony master, the best, and to regard language fluency and language eloquence as the most important thing in their education. You need to put it within the curriculum at schools. So it all depends on how severe your language loss is. I've just described what it is like when the language has no native speakers. Some of you might have a language with native speakers, but this language is unfortunately not prestigious, and therefore there is a weakening of that language.
What a pleasure having you at Teacher Development Webinars, Dr. Professor Ghil'ad Zuckermann. Thoroughly enjoyed your session, and it was so insightful. Personally, we could feel the spirit behind this talk. So, any final message or words for audience?
Well, firstly, Amanullah, thank you for inviting me. One of my dreams is to visit Pakistan. And I know that there is a lot to do there, and I know that the resources are not that abundant. I'm aware of that. I think the most important thing is to remember that language is much more important than land. This is if I want you to remember something from this 1 hour together, is that language is more important than land, and people should be much more peaceful in the sense that they nurture languages, not only their language, but also other people's languages, than about the specific land or the specific land issue. I mean, our world is, sometimes I look at the world and say it's such a stupid world. We lose so many languages, nobody cares, and on the other hand, people fight for instead of having a compromise when it comes to land. So that's the main thing. Think of your language. Do not think about your land.
Thank you so much for this wonderful talk again, Professor Zuckermann, and thanks for this beautiful note to end with. I really appreciate your time and expertise for this talk. Thanks to everyone who were present with us, for today's talk. We really appreciate your participation and your interest for International Mother Language Day webinar series that Teacher Development Webinar is hosting. So in case you're interested to obtain certificate for the session, you can email us at info.tdwebinars@gmail.com. And for future sessions, please register yourself at www.tdwebinars.org. We'll be, advertising our sessions on our social media channels. We're available on Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook page. So, please feel free to share your takeaways from this talk using hashtag TDWebinars. Our Twitter handle is @TDWebinars. The recording of the talk will also be available at Teacher Development Webinars YouTube channel. So feel free to share. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Professor Ghil'ad Zuckermann. Be safe. Have a